What's up everyone? This is NinjaDeathStrike bringing you another Pokemon Black and White Wi-Fi battle. My opponent this time is Laser11. He's using a rain team, and I'm going to be using my standard team. So I'm going to lead with Thundurus, again expecting the Politoed lead and knowing I'll be able to put a huge dent in it, maybe one-hit KO it depending on the EV spread. So I go for Thunderbolt right off the bat, but it turns out he's Scarfed. And he goes for Ice Beam and gets the first turn freeze. So this was the fourth match in a row that I was frozen. I had one before this that I didn't get to record since my opponent DC'd like a little punk. But anyhow, 4 matches in a row I get frozen. I switch into Crow knowing that he won't take too much, but he gets a crit. So I'm off to a terrible start thanks to hacks. First turn freeze, second turn crit. Starmie comes in as I set up my rocks, and I know he's probably going to want to spin me, so I'm going to switch into Nike, my Gastrodon, just in case he goes for the Thunderbolt. Turns out he has Thunder since it's a rain team, but it doesn't really matter. It doesn't affect Nike, and then now he decides to spin, and he shows me that he has Life Orbs. That's going to be really important for my strategy later on. I'm just going to go for Earth Power to get some safe damage, and now since I've shown him that I have Earth Power, I'm going to predict him to switch into Thundurus, expecting me to go for it again, but instead I go for Ice Beam, and that is what he does, and now I get the freeze. So we both freeze each other's Geines, which was hilarious. We were talking on the chat, and when that happened, we both just thought it was great. So anyhow, he leaves his in as fodder since it's not going to be able to do anything, and brings in Ferrothorn. So obviously I can't stay in. I'm going to switch out to my frozen Thundurus, just thinking maybe he'll unthaw and I'll be able to get some damage on it. But he's not going to. He's just going to get hit with Leech Seed and die while I let my opponent set up free entry hazards. So not a great idea by me, but whatever. It's done. And now I make another bad decision. I bring in Cracker's Whack. For some reason, I thought that he had already set up 2 layers of spikes. So I'm going to Stun Spore him here, which I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking here. Perilous is nice, but I'm just letting him set up hazards for free. I go for Encore again, thinking he already had 2 layers up, so that I thought he would want to switch out this turn, and I went for the Worry Seed, predicting either Scissor or Dragonite to come in. I wanted to be able to disable their abilities, but he gets another layer of spikes, and now that I know he has all 3, I know he's going to switch out. So I go for Stun Spore. Starmie comes in and gets paralyzed, which is great because it allows me to U-turn out, get a solid amount of damage, and switch into my counter Nike. So here, I don't care what he wants to do since I'm going to be able to tank any hit he throws at me. And I'm at about half, so I go for the Recover here. He decides to switch out since with Natural Cure, Starmie might be able to come in later and get 1 more attack since I don't have rocks up. And he brings in his Scissor. As I don't recover, I go for Ice Beam. But now I have to switch out. I'm going to go into Crow, expecting this to be a Choice Banded variant, but it turns out it's Swords Dance. So that wasn't great, but I should be able to live a Brick Break from this range, even at +2, because Crow's beastly with his defense, and I do survive, and I'm able to Whirlwind out so that his stat booster gone. Politoed comes back in. Obviously, I'm not going to leave Crow in here. I'm going to go right back to Nike since he can take any hit that Politoed can dish out. Take a ton of damage from spikes, but Ice Beam's damage output is pitiful. And now I believe I'm going to have a free turn to recover up as he goes back to Scissor. Let's see what I do. Yeah, I go for Recover, so I'm back at a good amount of health. And now that I know it's a Swords Dance variant, I'm going to switch into Cracker's Whack so that I can Encore it and then disable it with a Stun Spore. So he does decide to try to set up again. He goes for Swords Dance, which is great since Priority Encore is going to force him into continually Swords Dancing while I get to do whatever the heck I want. So I Encore him here, and I go for Stun Spore this turn, but I miss, which is awesome. I missed again. I had terrible luck this day. All of these last few battles have been taken on the same day, and Stun Spore wouldn't hit, and I got frozen every match. It was just a rough day. Anyhow, Dragonite comes in, and I'm just going to try to paralyze that, which I do. I managed to get the stun spore on it, thankfully. I take an extreme speed, but it doesn't do a whole lot since I'm max HP, max defense. And now I'm just going to U-turn out. I know that the damage won't be great, but just in case he decides to switch. He doesn't. He stays in. So I go for Crow as he goes for Dragon Dance. And now I'm going to make a really risky move. I'm going to go for a Roost, hoping that he doesn't have Earthquake, since if he has Earthquake and he predicts my Roost, Crow is hosed. But luckily, I get a little bit of return hacks here, and he's going to be fully paralyzed. So I'm able to get a Roost up, get back to a good amount of health, and now I believe I set my rocks up again. Let's see. Yeah, Starmie comes in, and I set my rocks up, which is great, because now this thing is guaranteed dead. He can either switch it out and die to rocks later, or he can go for an attack and die to Life Orb now. Either way, going to Nike is the best choice. Turns out he goes for the Thunder again. It doesn't affect me, so he doesn't take Life Orb damage, but he's still in the same predicament. He has to choose between dying now or dying later. And he picks to die later. He'll save it for fodder, and he switches in Ferrothorn as I recover back to full. Since if he had attacked, I would have been able to just recover off the damage and be at full health. But I can't stay in again, and so I'm going to go back to Crack His Whack, knowing that even though I can't really do anything to him, he can't do anything to me either. So this is kind of a stalemate. But I'm going to predict him to switch out here and either go into Scissor or Dragonite, and in either case, I want their ability disabled, so I go for Worry Seed. Scissor comes in, and instead of Technician, it gets Insomnia, and that's going to be really important this next turn, as I miss my second Stun Spore of the game. But he goes for Bullet Punch, and since he doesn't have Technician, it doesn't do a whole lot of damage. It's a 3-hit KO from that point, so he's forced to switch out again. I predict that and go for U-turn to get some switch initiative as his Politoed comes in. So since I was able to recover up that damage after Starmie, I can go back into Nike and take anything he wants to throw at me. Now he's going to have to switch out again, and Scissor comes in. And since I have my rocks up, I don't have to worry about Dragonite coming in on Earth Power. If it comes in, it's still going to take rocks damage, and since it's paralyzed, Ice Beam will kill it the next turn. So I'm fairly confident I can live any attack at this range, so I'm going to stay in. And I just survived with 39. I took a lot more damage than I expected, but I was able to survive, and he kills himself to Life Orb. So if I'd recovered there, that would have been the better option, but I didn't know that he was going to KO himself with a Life Orb, so went for the Ice Beam. And that allows Politoed to finally come in and take me out with an Ice Beam. And now I decide to bring in Crack His Whack one more time. I know I'm going to die, but I can at least cripple this Scarfed Politoed and disable its speed before I go down. So thankfully I don't miss a third Stun Spore this match, and I get the Paralysis. So now I can bring in Crow, and I should be able to kill it with Brave Bird, but it lives just barely. And then he crits me again. So I get taken down to 9 HP, and now I'm just going to speed this video up a little bit, since for the next couple turns I'm just Roost stalling him until I can get back to full health and safely take him out with a Brave Bird. So I spend a couple of turns healing up. Thankfully I don't get critted or frozen again. And now I'm at enough health that I can safely Brave Bird him and still be able to handle Dragonite if it comes back in. But Laser is going to decide to go into Ferrothorn here. And now that I have a good amount of his team disabled, I'm going to be able to go into Lennon and set up for my final sweep. The worst thing Ferrothorn can do is Leech Seed me. He gets fully paralyzed there, but in the end it didn't really matter. Leech Seed would have been inconvenient, but it's too late now for it to affect the outcome of the match. He switches out to Dragonite as I set up a bulk up, and even though Dragonite resists fighting, at +1 and without multiscale, I'm pretty sure that Drain Punch is going to do a decent amount of damage. So I'm just going to go for Drain Punch here and see if I'm in 2-hit KO range. It turns out that that's easily a 2-hit KO, which is great. He gets paralyzed again, but once again, that doesn't affect the outcome of the match, since even if he had gone for Outrage at +1 defense, I would have survived it comfortably. and been able to KO him the next turn. And you'll see the rest of his team is one-hit KO'd, so I wouldn't have taken any more damage. Stormy comes in, immediately dies to Stealth Rock. That leaves only Ferrothorn, which is not going to be able to survive a +1 Drain Punch. So good game, Laser. That was a lot of fun. Stay tuned, guys. I'll have more matches coming your way shortly. Thanks.